Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Told Hinata His Secret. This story is made by Nightblade 888, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. It was a calm autumn night in Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves. This, however, was simply the calm before the storm. Rain clouds began to form in the sky as two figures meandered towards the ninja village. When the guards spotted the two, they immediately tensed up. They had good reason. The only groups that they knew of that traveled in two were the Akatsuki, and Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto. Neither group were particularly welcome in the village. It had been a long 3 years for Uzumaki Naruto. The intense training he had received from the Frog Hermit was easily the most taxing activity he had ever done. Upon seeing the walls of the village for the first time in 3 years, the blonde wanted only one thing. Ramen. The 15-year-old boy yelled at the top of his lungs. Even though the distance between Naruto and the wall guards was large, the sound of the boy's voice carried quite easily. Upon hearing the call, the guards had different reactions regarding the loudmouthed ninja's exclamation. About half of the guards were relieved to find out that they wouldn't have to face off against the S-class criminals. Those who shared in this belief were of the younger demographic. The older guards were less than happy. After 3 years of relative peace, the QB brat was returning. Unfortunately for Naruto, Jiraiya had other plans. Sorry kid, but we've got to check in with Tsunade. The hermit reminded his apprentice. Yeah, replied Naruto, dejectedly. Upon reaching the gates, they were ordered to go directly to the Godime Hokage's office. The sun had finished setting as they headed directly for Tsunade's office. Don't you think it's kinda late to be working? Questioned Naruto. For most people, yes, replied Jiraiya. But considering it is Tsunade, she's probably asleep on top of her paperwork again. At the thought of the Hokage, sleeping on mission reports and assignments for the next day, both master and student couldn't help but laugh. Hey kid, the old hermit said, in between howls of laughter, I'll make a bet with you. If I win, then you've got to promise not to tell Tsunade about that little mishap back in Suna. Naruto was forced to quit laughing to ponder this proposal. Now which mishap would that be? He asked quizzically. Would that be the one where you took all my money for research, and ended up spending it on sake and women? Or how about the one where you had me practicing taijutsu, and I hit the log so hard that after it hit the back of your head, it sent you sailing into the women's section of the local bathhouse? Or how about the time, when you had me practice Gukaku no Jutsu, and you insisted that I was doing it wrong and ended up burning half of the campsite, and some of the town? Hey, Jiraiya's sweat dropped, remembering all the different occasions that had gotten him almost removed from Sunagakure. Okay, let's make this interesting. If I win, you can't mention any of those incidents. If you win, I'll teach you Togeyomi. Okay, sounds reasonable, responded Naruto. What are we betting on? The bet is that when we enter Tsunade's office, she's asleep, and when she wakes up she'll have paperwork stuck to her face, replied Jiraiya. At the thought of this, the two characters were once again sent into fits of laughter and had to calm themselves down for 5 minutes before they could continue. As they themselves along the staircase leading to the Hokage's office, they had to stifle another round of laughing. When they entered the building, the office was pretty empty. Everyone was gone except for Shizune, Tsunade's traveling companion per day planner. At first Shizune didn't seem to notice the two when they entered the room. When she looked up, she saw Jiraiya, with whom she could only assume to be Naruto. Although, you'd never have been able to tell that the adolescent man before her was at once a short, loud-mouthed genin. Naruto had grown a lot in the past 3 years. Not just physically, but he'd also picked up a semblance of what could almost be construed as manners. Instead of the bright orange jumpsuit he used to wear, Naruto now wore black pants with a black shirt, with orange stripes around the shoulders. His forehead protector was tied around his forehead just as it had been 3 years ago. Hey Shizune-chan, is Tsunade a bar-chan in? Questioned the blonde ninja. Both Shizune and Jiraiya sweat dropped upon hearing Naruto refer to the Godime Hokage as a bar-chan. Yes, she is, but I'm going to warn you now, if she hears you call her that, you'll wish that you hadn't come back. Shizune warned. She led the two into a room to find Tsunade, actually doing paperwork. Ha! I win, bellowed Naruto when he saw what could only be described as a miracle. Tsunade looked up from her work to see her old teammate Jiraiya standing with a taller, more mature-looking Naruto. Win what? Questioned the Hokage with an air of curiosity in her voice. The bet I made with Ero Sennin. If I won he has to teach me Togeyomi, if I lost, I couldn't tell you about all the stuff that Ero Sennin did during my training. Naruto replied. Oh, and what kind of stuff did he do? Asked Tsunade with a malicious tone to her voice as she eyed Jiraiya intent on finding out what stupid thing he had done. Well, for starters there was the TMMM. Naruto was see off by Jiraiya forcibly restraining the blonde from finishing the sentence. Oh, he means all the times that he wanted to learn some insanely dangerous jutsu and I wouldn't let him. Exclaimed Jiraiya hoping that he might be able to avoid the wrath of the Godime. Tsunade glared at him knowing full well that his previous statement was a lie, but she decided to let it pass, just this once. Jiraiya, that's a lie and everyone in this room knows it. But I'm feeling lenient right now, seeing as I just finished all the paperwork for tonight. I'll make a deal with you. I'll forget that you even tried to lie to the Hokage so long as you don't attempt to do any of your research while you are here. At that point, Tsunade grabbed a hold of the frog hermit and pulled him closer to her. But if I hear even one scream of pee, then I'll make sure that you'll never be able to go near another bathhouse for a very long time. She finished glaring into her former teammate's eyes with an intensity that would cripple most shinobi and cause pandemonium amongst the civilian population for a week. With the thought of banishment from bathhouses looming over him, Jiraiya was only able to mutter a hi before proceeding to chastise Naruto about proper etiquette around his superiors. Jiraiya, quit abusing your student and just give me your report so I can go get a drink and end this day properly. Said Tsunade, rubbing her temples in annoyance. All right, grumbled the older man. Uzumaki Naruto was placed under my care for the purposes of training for the past 3 years. During that time, he was instructed in chakra control, taijutsu, and ninjutsu. The purpose of the training was to allow Naruto to access and control large amounts of Kyuubi's chakra without losing control. He has proved himself to be highly proficient at ninjutsu and slightly above proficient at taijutsu. I wouldn't hesitate to say that he is at least a high Chunin level ninja at this point, if not Junin level. As Jiraiya is finishing his report, the noise of someone running in the hallways entered the room, only slightly before Hyuga Hiashi did. Upon entering the room, the head of the Hyuga clan did something very out of character given the resolute and stoic behavior he was known for. He collapsed onto the floor. In the blink of an eye, Tsunade was hovering over the man analyzing his condition. It's just fatigue. Sit him on the chair in the corner, hurry. Tsunade ordered. Hyuga-sama, what is so urgent that you ran over here yourself to tell me? Asked the Hokage. My daughter has been abducted. He managed to say in between gasps of air. What happened? Questioned Tsunade, as she motioned for the Anbu outside of her office to begin to search the surrounding area for the child. I was in the study attending to clan business, when I heard a commotion outside. I ran to investigate, and found carnage. Around 15 of the Hyuga guards were DOI. I heard the sounds of a fight coming from around the corner, and so I ran towards it. I saw one man taking on 3 of the guards as another exited my daughter Hinata's room. I saw that she appeared to be unconscious and slung over the intruder's back. When the man's partner saw him with Hinata, they both exited the compound and vanished. I've already sent out some patrols, but I haven't heard any news yet. Hiashi was calming down as he spoke, but much of his information was delivered between gasps for air and he seemed to be quite upset. Did you get any kind of look at the assailants? Were they Cloud Nin again? Tsunade asked. No, they weren't Cloud Ninjas, but I did see them. Hiashi responded. What did they look like? If you don't tell me, then I can't determine the best way to get your daughter back. Exclaimed Tsunade. They fit the description of Hokage Kisame and Uchiha Itachi perfectly. Hiashi said, calming himself down a bit. Before the words were out of his mouth, the sound of a door shut and running was heard. Before Tsunade could turn around to yell at Shizune to get more Anbu into the forest to see of any escape routes, Uzumaki Naruto was running straight into the forest, in an attempt to stop the 2 missing nins. Anger washed over Naruto as he sped towards the forest surrounding Konoha. He was beyond angry, and mad. He had exceeded the level of pissed off. He was in a state of pure uncontrollable rage. It was bad enough that Akatsuki was after the Kyuubi no Kitsune that was sealed inside of him by the Yondaime Hokage, but now they were taking his friends just to get to him. Well, it was working. If Akatsuki wanted the Kyuubi, then they were going to get it. The Kyuubi's chakra started to envelope Naruto as he ran into the forest. His eyes turned from shimmering blue to glaring red. His fingernails elongated into sharp claws. His face began to darken, and the 3 whisker marks on his cheeks became more pronounced. The last part of the transformation was the formation of 3 chakra tails behind him. With his new changes, Naruto began to search for the traitors not by visual clues, but by scent. Part of the transformation had heightened his sense of smell beyond that of an ordinary human and into that of a fox. He sniffed around a little bit before catching the scent of bee. He ran undeterred through the trees at speeds that only Lee and Guy would be able to match. Along with the eyes and claws, Kyuubi had heightened Naruto's speed so that he would be able to catch up with the 2 missing criminals and Hinata. It had begun to rain as Itachi and Kisame made their escape from Konoha. They felt the explosion of Kyuubi's chakra far behind them and continued on their way. Gradually, the enormous chakra signature that was Naruto began to catch up to the 2 Akatsuki members. Damn it, swore Kisame. He's gaining too much ground. We can't make it back. Agreed, replied his partner. Since he would have an advantage in the trees against you, we should head over this way. There is a clearing. That should take away any advantage he may have over you. Itachi was very calculating. In his mind, he doubted that the location of their inevitable battle would matter at all. Naruto was just a genin, and Kisame was one of the hidden village of the Mist's legendary 7 swordsmen. However, given the fact that the boy had eluded the organization's grasp for the past few years, Itachi wasn't going to risk the opportunity to capture the 9-tailed demon. They had made it to the clearing and turned towards the direction of the chakra they felt, and they waited. Less than 5 minutes after they had stopped, the signature turned towards the 2 ninja and their captive. Less than 2 minutes after that, Naruto arrived at the clearing. Standing on the limb of a tree, Naruto took stock of the situation. Itachi and Kisame were standing in front of him, with Hinata lying on the ground between them. Naruto was lucky. The moon gave enough light to identify her, by her purple hair. It was longer than he had remembered, it now reached to her shoulders. The jacket which she wore was still present, and it seems that she had just returned from training. Bruises and scrapes gave testimony to the work she was doing before her capture. If I stay in the trees I can only use long-range attacks, but I might hit Hinata, thought Naruto. So he did the only thing he could. He dropped to the ground and approached the 2 ninjas. Ah, Uzumaki Naruto, vessel of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, to what do we owe the honor? Kisame chided. What did you bastards do to her? Demanded Naruto through clenched teeth. Nothing too severe, just caught her in a handy genjutsu, replied Kisame. I only wish I had the Mangekyo Sharingan like Itachi so I could have had the opportunity to torture her a bit, but my method works just as well, smirked Kisame. Suddenly, the chakra coming from Naruto's body became more intense than before, and almost as suddenly, Kisame didn't have a head. If Itachi didn't have his Sharingan active, he wouldn't have been able to see what happened. Even though he did, he could only see the technique that Naruto used, not his body, just the red ball of chakra that had been forced into Kisame's head and caused it to explode like a balloon. Actually, Itachi didn't even see that much, all he saw was a red flash, and a deep cry of "Rasengan" from the blonde ninja. Once Hinata was released from the genjutsu she was trapped in. Looking around she saw the headless body of a tall, blue-skinned man on her right, and a boy with blonde hair behind him, a crimson chakra surrounding him. It looks so much like him, she thought, but what is that weird chakra around him? Naruto turned around towards Itachi and Hinata. Itachi was in shock from what he'd just seen. Hinata looked up to see the face of her savior. His eyes were no longer the deep blue that she remembered but a fierce red that rivaled that of the Sharingan. That technique, stammered Itachi, it isn't supposed to be around anymore. You can't possibly know that. No one can, it can't be copied, it's too fast. You're right, came Naruto's reply. Only his voice was deeper, and laced with malice. No one can copy that technique with a Sharingan. It also shouldn't exist anymore. But I did copy it. So it does exist. How? Came Itachi's stuttered reply. Easy, it was the only move the Yondaime showed me when we fought. I'd have to be some kind of idiot demon not to be able to figure it out in 15 years of imprisonment. Came the reply. Kyuubi, was all that Itachi could mutter as his eyes began to form the feared Mangekyo Sharingan. What is he talking about Naruto-kun? Hinata turned to ask. But when she turned around the boy was no longer there, and the sounds of battle rang out from behind her. She spun around to see Naruto behind Itachi, who had staggered to the right of where he was a second ago. A Rasengan-shaped hole now appeared on his side. The Mangekyo had saved his life. It had allowed him to see the ball of whirling chakra that was speeding at him, but not enough to dodge the blow completely. Immediately Itachi tried to flee, but Naruto flashed in front of him and greeted him with a punch to the face. Itachi back-flipped away in mid-air after receiving the blow. He then put his chakra reserves towards staunching the W on his left side. He only had enough chakra for one attack, and even then it wouldn't be enough to KO the enraged boy. So he used a move that he had copied off another Akatsuki member. He began to gather all his energy in towards the center of his body. Naruto didn't know what was happening, and ran towards the older brother of his rival in an attempt to KO him. He didn't have enough energy, even with Kyuubi's help to maintain the Shunshin. That is how he had caused the death of one of the most dangerous ninja around and mortally W another one. As he ran towards Hinata he felt the chakra in Itachi reach a threshold. It was then he knew what was going on. Itachi was trying to take both of them out with him. He was turning his body into a bomb. Naruto stopped in front of Hinata just as he felt the chakra in Itachi's body shatter every tenketsu in his body, K the missing nin, and creating an explosion that was meant to K both teenagers. Kyuubi receded into Naruto's subconscious at that exact moment. He was tired from using Shunshin too much and for creating the changes that Naruto had used to track the missing nins. As Naruto took control over his body, he realized what was happening, and closed his eyes in an instinctive reflex. It wouldn't save his life though. He heard the explosion, he felt the shock wave after it was over. But he didn't feel pain. He didn't feel anything. He opened his eyes to see two white sheets in front of him. He was obviously if he was seeing white sheets. Wasn't he? He looked around him, the sheets were enveloping him. But when he looked directly behind him, the sheets seemed to grow thinner, until they disappeared into Hinata's back. Hinata? He asked quietly. The girl raised her head to see the boy who had saved her life standing over her. The background was entirely white. Slowly the sheets began to separate and he could see that they weren't sheets, but enormous wings. The last thing he remembered before passed out due to exhaustion was his voice. Are you an angel? He asked before darkness and sleep overtook him. Hinata attempted to stand and run towards the boy, but the effects of the genjutsu had robbed her of much of her chakra and no sooner had she made it to Naruto's side, than she too passed out. Naruto awoke to the sound of yelling. He looked around and realized that he was in the hospital. On his left, Hinata was sitting up looking over at him. When she saw him move, a wave of relief washed over her body. When Naruto saw that Hinata was unharmed, he felt the same wave of relief. It's my fault you're in here, I'm so sorry. They both said at the same time. Needless to say, this left both teens very confused. They were both going to say something when Tsunade came rushing into the room. Are you insane? She yelled at Naruto. You walked right into the people WHO want you Tease. Tsunade-sama, it's my fault that Naruto-kun is here. Abachan, it's my fault that Hinata was taken and why she's in here now. The blonde said. Tsunade looked just as confused as the two teens. How is that possible? She thought. Why don't you tell me what happened at least? We have no idea what happened after you ran off Naruto, and the circumstances around your abduction are hazy as well Hinata. Replied the Hokage. I'll go first, stuttered Hinata. She took a big breath and began. I was getting ready for bed when I heard AS shout F from outside. When I went to look I was stopped by a big B blue man. He put me under some K kind of GG genjutsu. The next thing that I remember was Naruto-kun standing B behind me and the blue man didn't have a head. She recounted. When I left, I ran towards the Hyuga compound and out into the forest. Began Naruto. I started to track the smell of bee for a while, until I came into a clearing. Kisame was standing with Itachi and Hinata was lying on the ground between the two of them. I dropped out of the trees and tried to figure out why they wanted Hinata to begin with. Then Kisame said some things, and I kinda let him take control. His voice tailed off when he said the last sentence. Tsunade's eyes widened in shock. You did what? She screamed. I could still take control if I needed to, but it all worked out. So the first thing that happens is he creates a Rasengan and then uses some special technique called Shunshin to go really fast, and he forced the Rasengan into Kisame's head. Then he used Shunshin again and was able to W Itachi with another Rasengan to his side. Then he punched him. Then Itachi did something weird, he started to gather all the energy he could and turned himself into a bomb. Naruto finished. How did you survive? Asked Tsunade. I don't know, Naruto said. I took control back and closed my eyes and waited to die. But instead, something big and white blocked the explosion and when I looked around it looked like sheets were hanging around me, but instead they were wings and they came from Hinata's back. He said. At this point all three of them were puzzled. Tsunade wondered what the hell happened with wings coming from Hinata's back and why the Akatsuki was after her. Hinata wondered why Naruto talked like he had some kind of split personality, and Naruto was wondering about what would happen in the aftermath of all of this. Suddenly a thought crept into the Godime Hokage's head. It was a long shot, but she wondered nonetheless. Hinata, she began, can I see your back? What for Hokage-sama? I think I may be able to figure out what led to all of this. She stepped over to Hinata's bed, as Hinata was removing the jacket that she always wore. It had two large holes in it, from where the wings had come out. When she did, Tsunade saw what she had hoped not to find. All along Hinata's back and arms were intricate black loops and designs, it was a seal. When Naruto saw the lines, he didn't know what exactly was going on. Naruto, the Hokage said, I need to see your seal. Why it's not like it's broken or anything? He asked. Because, Tsunade said with the hint of a threat in her voice, I said so humor me and let me check it. Seeing the writing on the wall, Naruto pulled up his shirt and molded some chakra so that the seal was visible. Hinata let out a gasp as she saw it. So what that man said about Kyuubi, the Kyuubi is sealed eye inside of YU. Hinata asked tentatively. Naruto looked at Tsunade who simply nodded her head. Yes, he said, slowly and softly, still not wanting to say it. I'm sorry I caused you all this trouble, Hinata-chan. As soon as I can I'll leave and that way you'll be safe. Those men only came after you to get to me. They want the Kyuubi that's sealed inside of me. And no, Naruto-kun, I don't think that you understand, I have a demon sealed inside me too. The Nibi no Aosugi, the two-tailed swan. Those were the wings you saw. I used her wings to protect you. Hinata said, finishing without a stutter. My father always that the vessel for the Nibi would be strong, that is why he calls me weak. He doesn't see me, as his daughter, just the container for some demon. She said dejectedly. I'm sorry to hear that, Hinata-chan. I know how you feel. I always get icy glares from people in the street and people that don't see me as the container, just as the Kyuubi. Upon hearing him call her, Hinata-chan, Hinata began to blush. Are you okay, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked. Hi, it's just I'm not used to calling me, Hinata-chan. I'm sure you'll get used to it after a while. He said, scratching the back of his head and grinning. Well, you both seem to be recovering fine, you'll just have to stay here for observation for a couple of days. I'll be back to check on you two in a few hours. With that Tsunade left. Ayano, Naruto-kun, now that I know about Kyuubi, it makes sense. You always seem so happy and energetic just like a fox. It suits you well, Hinata said as she blushed. Thanks, Hinata-chan. I think you're a lot like a swan actually. You're kinda quiet, but you're really smart, and you're very graceful. Naruto barely managed to get out the last part before his voice disappeared and a bright red blush overtook his face. Thank you, Naruto-kin, Hinata replied. Hey Hinata-chan, when we get out of here, would you like to go get some ramen with me? Naruto asked rather sheepishly. Sure, she responded while blushing even deeper. Sunlight streamed into the hospital room currently occupied by Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata. Both teenagers were asleep, having been drained of their chakra during their ordeal the night before. Hinata was the first to awaken when sunlight began to dance around her face. Looking over at the boy laying asleep to her right, she couldn't help but smile. He looks peaceful when he's asleep, she thought. Peaceful might have described Naruto at the moment, but it certainly didn't pertain to the Godime Hokage. Tsunade was in a meeting with Hyuga Hiashi, Hinata's father. She wasn't happy with the answers she was receiving from the head of the Hyuga clan. Jiraiya stood to her left, eyes closed and the beginnings of a frown crossing his face. With all due respect, Hokage-sama, you do not have the authority to interfere in clan matters. Hiashi stated with his usual authoritative voice. Failing to notify me that you had sealed a demon inside of your own daughter, who is an active ninja, doesn't sound like a clan matter to me. The Godime retorted, starting to sound annoyed. Hiashi could hear the truth in what the Hokage was saying, but he couldn't care less right now, as always he was worried about the safety of the clan above all else. Last night he had shown worry when he stormed into the office of the Hokage, but it was fear that the Hyuga would loose a very powerful weapon, not fear of losing his daughter. Fine, then she will be removed from the list of active ninja from now on. She is too weak to be of any real use to her team anyways. He coldly stated. At this both Sannin were overcome with anger. As the head of the Hyuga clan was about to exit, Tsunade snapped out of her present haze and simply said. So what she said was true. Hiashi slowly turned around and looked at the blonde Hokage. White eyes met brown as the two stared at each other. Hinata said that you only saw her as the vessel for the Nibi, not as your own daughter, and that you were constantly calling her weak. Now I can see that she was telling a very painful truth. The Godime finished. She is weak. After seeing that boy's fight against my nephew in the Chunin exam, it proved exactly how weak she is. He was able to call on the Kyuubi's chakra to help him. Hinata has never shown any kind abilities or been able to access the chakra of the Nibi. Hiashi spat. Before either Hiashi or Tsunade could move, Jiraiya had grabbed the clan leader's robes and lifted him into the air. That is what this is about. She can't use the Nibi's chakra, and so you call her worthless and weak. Jiraiya spat at Hiashi. You don't know anything. Do you? You think that just because she has some demons sealed inside of her, that she should be able to use its chakra. You obviously don't know anything about seals then. I'm willing to bet that your precious council of elders did the sealing for you, assuring you that she would be as strong as Naruto. They lied to you, Hiashi. They lied to you, and you bought it hook, line and sinker. Tsunade described the seal for me. It doesn't allow for chakra to pass through. Your council was trying to save her from all influences of the demon, and so it completely sealed off the Nibi's chakra. That's why she can't use it. When she did use it last night to save both her and Naruto's life, it almost killed her. Jiraiya was yelling at this point, hoping that maybe Hiashi would listen for once in his life. At the same time that Hyuga Hiashi was receiving the verbal thrashing that he deserved, Haruno Sakura entered the hospital, ready to start her shift. Being the apprentice to the greatest medic nin in history, now currently the Godime Hokage, Sakura had to assist at the hospital a few days a week. Looking at the first file in front of her, she saw a name she hadn't seen for 3 years. She quickly ran towards the room where the blonde boy was sitting up talking with Hinata. Bursting into the room, Sakura looked at her former teammate. Naruto? She asked, not believing that the teenager lying in a bed before her was once the shortest and loudest ninja she knew. Sakura-chan, he exclaimed happily. Ohio, Sakura, said Hinata. Oh, Hinata, I didn't know you were in here too. Sakura said. Why are you guys here anyway? I mean, Naruto was probably out practicing and hurt himself, but why you wouldn't do something stupid like that, so what's up? Oh, not much. I got back last night and well, one thing led to another, and it ended up with us crashing into each other. Pretty stupid, huh? Lead Naruto, hoping it would work. He didn't want to explain how he K2's class missing ninja in the span of about 2 minutes. Sakura looked over the two. There weren't any signs that either one was just tired. But something didn't add up. Why would 2 people be in a hospital if they just ran into each other? Oh well, she decided. If they don't want to tell me, then I won't ask. So what have you been doing, Naruto? It's been a long time since you've been back, huh? Sakura inquired. Only the most intense training you could imagine. He said, rather angrily. That Ero-Sennin knows all these jutsus, and then after I convince him to teach me one, he'll show it to me and then disappear. It sucks, he stated, in an authoritative manner. But what about you? Are you still training with Tsunade Bar-chan? He asked. As she was about to answer, a new figure entered the room. His Konoha forehead protector was pulled over his left eye, and his gray hair stood up at many different angles. Kakashi-sensei, exclaimed Naruto, what are you doing here? Oh, not too much, I heard that you had returned and that you ended up here. I thought I'd check up on you. The lazy Junin said. We're both fine. Naruto said. Yeah, we just kinda ran into each other last night. Oh, okay, replied Kakashi. Oh, before I forget, the Hokage wants to speak to the two of you when you are released. Kakashi motioned towards Naruto and Hinata. Have a good day, he said, as he turned and exited the room. I wonder what Tsunade Bar-chan wants us for, thought Naruto. He noticed that Sakura had gone to check on Hinata. Well, you're both in pristine condition, so whenever you two are ready, you can leave. She stated. I've got to go check on my other patients, but we should get together later, you could tell us about your time. Yeah, okay, Naruto replied, flashing one of his trademark smiles. Why don't you get all the other teams together, so I can see how everyone is doing? He suggested. Okay, I'll see you both later then, right? Sakura asked. Of course, said Naruto. With a small nod, Sakura left to continue with her job. About 20 minutes later, Naruto and Hinata exited the hospital and headed towards the Hokage's office. When they arrived, they were told by Shizune that Tsunade was meeting with Hiashi and that they could sit down and wait for a few minutes. Naruto-kun, have you ever told anyone about the Kyuubi? Asked Hinata rather sheepishly but without stuttering. No, replied the blonde. You were the first person. The only thing Hinata was able to say was a quiet, oh. After a few minutes, Tsunade's voice could be heard yelling for Shizune. After a few minutes of discussing whatever Tsunade needed, Shizune motioned for the two to enter. Tsunade was seated behind her desk as usual, but was leaning on her elbows, trying to massage her temples. She motioned for the pair to be seated and continued rubbing her temples for a few minutes, while both teenagers sat quietly. Okay, first thing first, Tsunade said, Naruto, Anbu retrieved the body of Hokage Kisame early this morning. They didn't find any trace of Uchiha Itachi, however, they did note a large crater that fits the description of a suicide blast that you both described. I'm not extremely worried right now that Itachi, if he managed to survive, poses any kind of threat. However, if he is indeed dead, then we might have a problem on our hands. If Sasuke finds out that Yuki his brother, this might cause Orochimaru to seize Sasuke's body very soon. If word doesn't reach him, we still only have a month to find and stop Uchiha Sasuke before his body becomes the new container for Orochimaru. So you're saying that he might already be preparing to take Sasuke's body? Exclaimed Naruto. Yes, replied Tsunade. I think that Sasuke is still searching for his brother, so I want you to go and find Sasuke before Orochimaru can take his body. HH Hokage-sama, what does this have to do with me? Questioned Hinata. Hinata, I want to ask you something that will require some thought on your part. The Godime said, if you want, I can alter your seal so that you will have access to the Nibi's chakra, like Naruto can use the Kyuubi's. Of course this is voluntary, if you don't want to, then that is perfectly fine. See, can't I already do that? Asked the girl. Presently, both Jiraiya and I conclude that you can't. The wings that you were able to summon to protect you and Naruto, were due to a crack in the seal that almost killed you. I can alter the seal so that you can use its chakra at your disposal. Replied Tsunade. Will there be any side effects? Hinata stuttered. I don't know, you'd have to ask Naruto, he's our resident expert on this sort of thing. Said the Hokage. Well, for me I sometimes have to visit the Kyuubi and talk with it, and every once in a while I'll end up having nightmares about things that it's done, but that's about it. I suppose you might end up with some markings like my whiskers, but I can't be sure. He said. If I do this, Hinata thought, then I'll be strong, just like Naruto, but I might end up with a demon in my head. Oh, this is really tough. Hinata thought for a while before she spoke. I want to do this. She said. Are you sure? Asked Tsunade, because once it's done, reforming the seal you have now will be impossible. I'm sure, she said with no hint of uncertainty in her voice. All right, Naruto, I heard from Jiraiya that you spent a lot of time working on seals during your training. Is that true? Asked Tsunade. Yeah, I spent a good bit of time learning everything I could about the different types of seals. Replied Naruto. He was worried that Hinata didn't know what she was getting herself into. Okay, then will you help Jiraiya and I convert Hinata's seal? Asked Tsunade. Of course, he stated. Tsunade led Hinata and Naruto to a large room with many different designs drawn on the floor. She positioned Hinata in the center of the design and led Naruto towards the edges where they met with Jiraiya. Okay, Naruto, what we're about to do is transform the seal on Hinata's back so that she can access the Nibi's chakra. What we need is for you to pump a lot of chakra into the seal, while Tsunade redraws the seal. Said the frog hermit. Naruto simply nodded his head as he started towards one of the activation points of the design. Tsunade had Hinata remove her jacket and was busy redrawing the seal with her own bee. When she was done, she simply nodded towards Naruto, who began to channel chakra through the station into the design on the ground. As he watched, the chakra began to snake towards Hinata. When it got to her, Jiraiya and Tsunade began to make hand seals so fast that Naruto would have problems keeping up, if he were paying attention. The only thing he was worried about was Hinata. What if I do something wrong, and I end up releasing the demon? He thought. No, I won't mess up, I'm doing this right, and besides, the two actually doing the sealing are two of the Sannin. Things will be fine. Both Jiraiya and Tsunade finished their seals at the same moment. As Tsunade placed her hand on Hinata's back, Hinata felt the old seal begin to tear apart. It wasn't breaking, just tearing. She felt the chakra of the Nibi no Aosugi flow into her own chakra coils. She had never felt such power before. Suddenly she felt an intense burning on her back as the new seal began to set. As it finished, the pain became unbearable as Hinata passed out. The last thing she saw was Naruto running towards her as she fell face forward towards the cold stone ground. As Hinata began to fall, Naruto saw her and instinctively ran to grab her. He was able to get to the girl just before she hit the ground. He turned her over to check for a pulse, breathing a large sigh of relief when he found one. It's okay, Naruto, she just passed out. Give her a few minutes and she'll be fine. Said Tsunade. Let's go put her in my office so I can check the new seal. Hinata found herself in the middle of a field standing on a hill. Looking down, she saw a pond that didn't look familiar to her at all. She cautiously headed towards it, taking careful note of her surroundings. As she approached the edge, she realized that the pond was actually a very large lake, with a waterfall at the far end. Suddenly, the thick fog that was rolling around the area began to dissipate. As Hinata looked through one of the clearings, she noticed a shape moving in the water. Once it reached one of the clear patches, Hinata could instantly make it out to be a swan, which began to head towards her. Hinata watched the swan as it slowly swam towards her. Are you the Nibi no Aosugi? Asked the girl. Yes, replied the swan without opening its beak. How can you talk without opening your beak? Queried Hinata. I can do many things that you humans cannot do. Replied the swan. I'm guessing that you want to know where you are, am I correct? Hinata just nodded her head yes. You are in your subconscious, which I can now access. I cannot control you, the seal is too strong for me to attempt that, but I can make your subconscious fit my needs. I simply brought you to the lake that I used to inhabit. I am originally from Hidden Cloud, and I am afraid that I am the reason you were abducted when you were 3. You see, I was the Cloud's pride. I agreed to protect the village as long as they hadn't done anything to warrant it, and since I can change my appearance, I can gather information of that sort rather easily. So you see, it wasn't because the Cloud wanted the Byakugan, but because you were my vessel. I would like to apologize to you for that. You see, I am not a violent Yuki, like the Kyubi, or Shukaku. I am more interested in healing, and I believe that I may have jump-started your interest in this particular field. Hinata simply stood there thinking about what she had just learned. Anno, if you've been sealed inside me, then how come we couldn't do this before? If my father hadn't told me of you, then I never would have known. The shy girl asked without a stutter. It was the seal that your clan used to seal me inside of you. It stopped me from giving you any chakra, or be able to help you in any other way. Only now that the seal has been reshaped can I talk with you," replied the demon. "Although you haven't been able to notice me, I've been able to sense how you have grown up. I would like to train you to use my chakra and my abilities to help your friends." "How could you tell, if you'd been sealed away?" asked Hinata. "The same way that I could tell if the Cloud Shinobi deserved to be defended or not. It is another one of my gifts that I will train you with. You will be able to read people through body gestures and motions, much like your cousin. Although with my help, you will surpass him," said the swan. "All of my training can be learned in your subconscious while you sleep, needing only to be practiced while you are awake. I will accept your offer. I will protect my friends, and I will not go back on my word." "That is my Nindo," exclaimed the usually shy Hinata. "Very well then, I will train you beginning tonight," replied the swan as she began to slowly fade into the fog. Hinata awoke lying on a couch in the Hokage's office. Soon it noticed that the girl had awakened, walked over to help her sit up. "The sealing was a success," she said. "If you want you can see the new seal. There is a mirror over there." She motioned towards the end of a tall cabinet. Hinata strode towards the mirror and looked at the new seal. Instead of thick black loops and intricate designs running the length of her back and down to her elbows on her arms, there was simply a swirl pattern around her right shoulder blade that ended in a black diamond. The diamond pattern was repeated on the left shoulder blade, but the swirl was unique to the right. Hinata was happy with the new seal. She could now wear normal clothes without having to worry if people saw the old seal. She thanked the Hokage for her help in the procedure and went to retrieve her coat. "Please wait a moment, Hinata," said the blonde Hokage. She opened the door and allowed Naruto and Jiraiya to re-enter the room. Taking seats again, they wondered what the Hokage was thinking. "Okay, Naruto, as you know I've appointed you to find and return Uchiha Sasuke to the village before he can become Orochimaru's new vessel. You will leave tomorrow morning in hopes of drawing him out. If he is searching for Itachi still, then he should find you. I want you to take a full team with you. Jiraiya will be the leader, but he will not be fighting unless Orochimaru or Kabuto appear in an attempt to claim Sasuke. I also want Hinata to accompany you. Now that she has conferred with the Nibi, her healing skills will be invaluable. The third member can be any Chunin or Genin you wish. Since you are the only member of the Rookie 9 feet to not attain the rank of Chunin yet, you should try to meet up with them so you can see how everyone has changed over the 3 years that you were gone and make the final selection for your team." Tsunade gave the group sitting in front of her the mission briefing and dismissed them. As they were leaving Hokage Tower, they ran into Sakura, who was just leaving the hospital. Naruto and Hinata departed from Jiraiya to go collect the other members of the Rookie 9. As the sun was going down on Konohagakure that night, a lone figure sped towards the town. His normally black eyes turned crimson and 3 comma-like marks began to spin around his iris. He paused a moment to check his surroundings. Finding no trace of his prey, the boy continued through the trees. "Where are you, brother?" he would say in a voice that sounded a lot like a predator playing with its prey before the K. Uchiha Sasuke had returned to Konoha. Naruto, Hinata and Sakura headed towards the Hokage monument. There they saw 8 people talking amongst themselves. The Rookie 9, as they had once been called, had grown up. Inuzuka Kiba was chatting with Yamanaka Ino. Both had grown considerably since Naruto had last seen him. Kiba was taller and leaner. His nin dog Akamaru had grown as well. He was too large to fit into Kiba's coat now, and was running about chasing butterflies. Ino had regrown her hair, it had shorter than before she see it, and was pulled into a pigtail, like before. Aburame Shino and Hyuga Neji were currently engaged in their favorite pastime, not talking. Shino had grown taller, and now wore a coat with a hood over his hair and a pair of black pants. He still sported his trademark sunglasses, hiding his eyes. Hyuga Neji was the only Junin among the group. It was a newly acquired rank, and as such he was still doing missions with his former Genin team. He was taller, and his dark hair had grown even longer. He looked every bit like his father, and unless one knew that Hyuga Hisashi was they easily would have mistaken his son for the father. Nara Shikamaru and his best friend Akamaiki Choji were seated under a tree. Shikamaru was engrossed in cloud gazing, and Choji was inhaling his bag of chips with the same vigor that Naruto had remembered. Choji had grown taller, and had gained weight too, but that was to be expected in the Akamaiki clan. Shikamaru looked the same as always, but he was starting to grow a goatee. As the trio of newcomers arrived, Sakura went off to talk with Rock Lee. Lee hadn't changed one bit, at least on the outside. He still wore the green spandex suit and orange leg warmers. He still had the same bowl hair and same disturbingly thick eyebrows. Lee-san and Sakura-san started dating about a year ago. Hinata said when she saw the puzzled look Naruto had. "Oh, well, it's nice to see that she has gotten over Sasuke." He replied. Ten came over and started talking to Sakura as Hinata and Naruto made their way towards the others. When the remaining shinobi noticed Naruto, all conversation stopped immediately. Naruto?" asked Kiba. "Hey Kiba, yeah, I'm back. I thought it'd be nice to meet everyone again." Naruto replied. As Naruto was bombarded with questions about his absence, Hyuga Hiashi was about to snap. Upon learning that the council had lied to him for 15 years about his daughter's seal, he couldn't help but wonder why. Why would the council lie to him about his daughter's strength? Then it hit him. The council had seen exactly what he had seen, enormous potential and strength. The council was afraid of what Hinata would be able to do, even without the Nibi's chakra. They were trying to turn him against his daughter. They knew that they could never hope to control her if she had access to the chakra of the two-tailed demon. As he headed back to the Hyuga complex, he grew more and more incensed. He was going to fix the wrongs that had been committed against his daughter for the past 15 years of her life. The moon began to creep higher in the sky as the Rookie 9 were telling Naruto of all the happenings that he had missed in his 3 years away. Around 9 o'clock the group began to disband and drift towards their separate homes. It was then that Naruto pulled Sakura and Lee away to discuss his mission the next day. "Hey, Sakura-chan, Lee, can I talk with you two for a second?" Naruto asked, almost under his breath. They both nodded, noting the new seriousness in his voice. "Sunada-bar-chan wants Ero Sennin, Hinata-chan and me to go get Sasuke tomorrow, before that snake bastard can take his body. She said I could choose any one I wanted from as long as they were Chunin or Genin. I want to take both of you, and I don't care what she says. Sakura, we're going to need your healing skills, and Lee, your taijutsu will be very hard for him to fight against if we need to. I just wanted to know if you would come with me tomorrow." "Oh, it's an A-class mission?" Naruto asked. The two teens just looked at each other, knowing that Naruto spoke the truth. Neither of them knew about the Nibi and Hinata, but they had both seen the damage that Naruto had received last time he fought Sasuke, and agreed that a medic nin would be a good addition to the team. "We'll go with you," Sakura said. "All right, you'd better get some sleep. We meet at the north gate at 7 sharp." Naruto instructed as he departed to walk Hinata back to the Hyuga complex. "You're right, Hinata-chan, Lee really has calmed down a bit under Sakura's influence," he said. "Yes, Lee-san has been much quieter since he started dating Sakura-chan," Hinata replied. Sakura had insisted on Hinata calling her Sakura-chan instead of Sakura-san. She said it made her feel old. "Naruto-kun, this is the complex," Hinata said as they reached her home. Suddenly, the sounds of fighting broke the quiet of the night. Both teenagers rushed into the complex, to find Hiashi fighting the council head. Hiashi was worn out from the fight and couldn't move as the council head called out his attack. "Hakushu, Rokuju Yonshu, 8 trigrams, 64 palms," yelled the council head. 2 hands, 4 hands, 8 hands, 16 hands, 32 hands, 64 hands. Hiashi slumped to the ground as 64 of his tenketsus were forcibly closed. Hinata ran towards her father. He had passed out from chakra depletion, and was very close to death. Behind her, Naruto created a shadow clone and sent it to find Tsunade. "You'll pay for hurting my father," Hinata said in a cold voice. "And what do you think you can do about it?" asked the council head. "You can't even beat your sister, and she is younger than you by 5 years." Hinata didn't say anything as she stood up and adopted a Yukan stance. Her opponent did the same, and Hinata charged him. She aimed the index and middle fingers of her right hand at the man's heart. He simply dodged her attack and went to close a tenketsu on her outstretched hand. She quickly changed her attack and sent an elbow at the man's head. He was forced to block her attack and was forced back as Hinata kept attacking him. He simply dodged her attacks, although she was doing a good job of keeping him on the defensive so he couldn't seal any of her tenketsu points. She again sent her right hand at his heart, but this time instead of shifting to his left, he shifted right, and caught Hinata off guard. She sent her left arm toward the council head, but he simply grabbed her arm and sealed 3 tenketsu, rendering her arm useless. In Hinata's moment of shock, the council head took the offensive. Hakushu, Rokuju Yonshu, he said, as he attacked Hinata's inner coils. 2 hands, 4 hands, 8 hands, 16 hands, 32 hands, 64 hands. Hinata flew backwards and was caught by Naruto. He laid her on the ground. She was clearly not in any condition to fight. I'll KO you, he screamed. Naruto formed his favorite seal. He was about to create a large number of shadow clones, when a sudden chakra spike caught his attention. He looked around and saw Hinata standing. Even without the Byakugan, Naruto knew what was happening to Hinata's chakra. The Nibi was lending Hinata her chakra. No, Naruto, this fight is mine, and mine alone, Hinata said, calling off the blonde. How can you stand up after that attack? Asked the older man, clearly afraid of the new energy that had overtaken Hinata. Hinata simply removed her overly large coat and stared the man down. No longer did she have thick black loops and lines around her arms. She stood before the council member in a white t-shirt and calmly adapted the Yukin stance again. Tsunade-sama was kind enough to alter the seal that imprisoned the Nibi for 15 years. I can now use her chakra as if it were my own, came Hinata's reply. Suddenly large white wings sprouted from Hinata's back. That feels better, she said, with a hint of malice in her voice. Demon, I'll KO you, shouted the council head as he charged towards Hinata and Naruto. Hinata simply flapped her large chakra wings and calmly said, Kamaitake, cutting whirlwind. A large gust of chakra-infused wind caught the attacking man and hurled him into thick support beam, which he passed through until he impacted a wall and slid down to the floor, unconscious. Just then, Tsunade entered along with Naruto's shadow clone, who upon completing its task, quickly puffed out of existence. Tsunade just stared in awe, at the sight of Hinata with large white wings and the damage caused by the fighting. She quickly made her way over towards Hiashi, while Naruto approached Hinata. Hinata-chan, are you okay? Naruto asked. Hinata heard Naruto's question, but didn't reply. She took long deep breaths, and clenched her fists. Her wings began to shrink and recede into her back. As the last bit of white disappeared she fell to her knees. Are you okay? Naruto asked again. Hi, it's just that I've never felt so much power before, replied Hinata. Naruto placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, and crouched down with her. I know how you feel. The thrill, it's exhilarating, it's like I feel invincible, and I could take on the world, he said in a comforting way. Just then, Tsunade came over. Hinata, your father is going to be fine, but he'll be unconscious for a while. Do you have any idea what happened? She asked. Hinata simply shook her head as her eyes made their way over to where her father lay. Tsunade proceeded to check on every member of the council. They were either, or in the case of the council head, beaten and battered within inches of their life. Just then a squad of Anbu came in the room. They waited for the Hokage's orders silently. I want all of the W transported to the hospital, including Hiashi-sama. I also want the rooms of the council members guarded, and they are under no circumstances to leave. When Hiashi-sama regains consciousness, tell me, Tsunade ordered. The Anbu quickly went about their task and had soon cleared out the room. It was a miracle that nobody else heard the fighting, said Tsunade. You two should get some rest. You have a big mission tomorrow. Speaking of which, Naruto, did you pick the other member of your team? Hi, I picked Sakura and Lee. Sakura has a right to do this, the same as I do, and Lee's taijutsu will be hard for Sasuke to fight, replied Naruto. Naruto, I said you could pick one person. Tsunade sighed. But I see your point. You can take them both, but under one condition: if you can't find Sasuke in 3 weeks, then you must send one of the two back. I can't afford to have too many people gone on this mission. Naruto simply nodded. Tsunade left, to go check in at the hospital, leaving Naruto and Hinata alone in the destroyed council room. Tsunade-chan is right, Hinata-chan, we should get some rest, he said, turning towards her. She was still kneeling where her father had been before, in a state of shock. She wasn't sure if it was because her father was almost in front of her, or if it was because she had used the Nibi's chakra for the first time. She didn't hear anything Naruto or Tsunade had just said, and she didn't notice anything until Naruto came and pulled her onto her feet. Lifting her chin, he looked into her white eyes and saw tears beginning to well up. Hinata, your dad will be fine. If Tsunade-chan says he'll be fine, that there's nothing to worry about, he said calmly. I'm more worried about you. You had all of your tenketsus closed. When Neji closed mine, I was really tired for a while afterwards. Naruto-kun is worried about me, she thought. You're right, Naruto-kun, if Hokage-sama says he'll be okay, then he will be. I was just felt that I was useless just then, I couldn't help him, I don't have the skill to do that, and I almost didn't beat the head of the council. I really should head to bed now, if I want to be of any help tomorrow. Don't say that, Hinata-chan, of course you'll be helpful on the mission. Just get some sleep and I'll come pick you up around 7:30. Naruto replied. I'll see you tomorrow. With those parting words, Naruto left and headed home. Hinata followed suit and went into her room where she laid down and fell asleep instantaneously. The next day, Hinata awoke at 6 o'clock, and took a shower to relax her at least somewhat. It was a good thing that she woke up early, because in the aftermath of the previous night, she hadn't packed anything. She quickly packed enough medical supplies for the 5 people in the group, and a few changes of clothes. She checked her supply of shuriken and kunai before she headed towards the kitchen to grab some food. The cooks were just beginning to make breakfast when she entered and quickly grabbed some toast and a glass of water. While she was leaving, she heard the muttering of the kitchen staff. Did you see the council room? Yeah. What do you think happened? I heard Hiashi-sama attacked all of them and that more than half a D. I don't know, but something terrible must have happened in there. With that, Hinata left and headed towards the front gate to meet Naruto. Naruto had just arrived at the front of the Hyuga compound when Hinata exited. Hey Hinata-chan, are you ready to go? He asked. Yes, she said simply. Thank you, Naruto-kun. What for? He asked. Well, for everything. I never thanked you for helping me last night, or for rescuing me from the Akatsuki, she said, blushing. It's okay, Hinata-chan, I'd never let one of those lunatics hurt any of my friends. The two arrived at the north gate to find Lee already there, and Sakura came only a minute after Naruto and Hinata. Jiraiya showed up a few minutes later, and they left to find Sasuke. After 5 hours of searching, the group took a break for lunch. As they were about halfway through, Hinata's Byakugan detected movement behind them. Before she could warn the others, a mulede of kunai and shuriken hummed through the air, at the group. Before anyone reacted, Hinata acted. Shugohak Rokiju Yonshu. 8 trigrams guard, 64 palms. She began to emit chakra spikes from her fingertips, destroying, or diverting all of the oncoming projectiles. Sasuke watched as all his shuriken and kunai were destroyed by the supposedly weakest member of the team. It became obvious to him, that even if he had his Sharingan active, he doubted whether he could copy that attack. Quickly he reorganized his attack strategy and decided to focus on his pink-haired ex-teammate. Breaking his cover, Sasuke dashed at Sakura, only to be greeted by Lee's right foot. Since when did Lee get that fast? He thought. He quickly regained his posture, sliding a few feet. As he stood up, he was met by Naruto's fist. Damn it, when did Naruto learn to hit like that? Rising to his feet, he saw Lee and Naruto charging him. He was able to dodge Naruto's punch, but Lee made solid contact with his chest, hurling him back and driving the wind from him. Damn it, he cursed out loud. Am I really that weak? He thought. Activating the first level of his cursed seal, Sasuke looked intimidating. As black flames around his skin, he felt the now familiar boost in chakra the seal allowed him. With his newfound speed he leapt over Lee and Naruto and charged Sakura, Sharingan blazing. As readied his attack, he saw Sakura smirk, and pull her fist back. He didn't pay attention. Nothing she could do could faze him in the least. Damn it. Sasuke swore again. How did they become so strong? He then activated the second level of the cursed seal. The black flames began to mold themselves into a black that covered his entire skin, and his black hair turned pale white. 2 fleshy wings then sprouted from his back. Given no other option, Naruto called on the Kyuubi for chakra. The demon fox obliged and Naruto felt the chakra engulf him and take the form of 2 tails behind him. Charging at Sasuke, the 2 boys exchanged blows at such a rapid pace that Lee was having trouble keeping up with them. The girls had given up a while ago, and were most startled by Sasuke's transformations. Do you think the outcome will be any different than last time? Sasuke goaded Naruto. Yes, said Naruto. He was beginning to worry, because currently Sasuke was beating him with only 2 tails. Sasuke and Naruto kept up their attacks and continued to pummel each other into the ground. Eventually, Sasuke landed a sharp right hook to Naruto's jaw that sent him spinning backwards. Not wasting the opportunity, Sasuke performed a bunch of hand seals, and spat a fireball towards Naruto. The attack hit home and due to the intensity of the blaze, the ball became a column of fire, reaching a good 15 feet high. Sakura, Hinata, and Lee were all worried about their friend. Until a body removed itself from the inferno. Naruto appeared to be unharmed, but what puzzled people the most was the addiction of 2 new chakra tails at his back. At this, Sasuke began to panic. He could feel the seal try to overcome his brain. He had to fight it. I haven't Itachi yet. He screamed in his head. Naruto, it looks like I'll have to make this quick. I still have a certain person to K after I dispatch of you. Sasuke growled as he formed Chidori. Naruto didn't respond, but formed Rasengan in his hand to counter Chidori. The 2 charged each other, oblivious to their surroundings. When each was about a yard away from each other, they thrust both of their attacks forward. But Naruto once again found it in himself to K his teammate. He was aiming to at least take off Sasuke's arm though. Just as both attacks were about to meet, a figure in a black cloak with red clouds appeared between the boys and took both attacks. Sasuke was shocked to see his brother Itachi take a Chidori and Rasengan to the body. He froze up as Itachi seemed to wrap his arms around his younger brother. Itachi knew he was dying. The Rasengan to his side that he sustained earlier was fatal, and he had just managed to hide underground when he turned his remaining chakra into an explosion. Knowing it would be the last thing he did in this life, he wrapped his arms around Sasuke and began performing hand seals. The only one who could see what was transpiring was Jiraiya. He watched as Itachi preformed seal after seal even as his heart began to fail. But Jiraiya wasn't a Sannin for nothing. He recognized the seals and what would happen when Itachi was finished. Itachi finished the seals and felt the last of his life escape from him. Sasuke felt a hot burning into his back as his cursed seal receded and he passed out from the pain. Naruto was the first one to run towards the bee. He knew that Itachi was D, but he didn't know what he had done to Sasuke. Jiraiya quickly joined him, as the other 3 hurried over to check on Naruto. Well, I'll be damned, Jiraiya said, examining what Itachi had done. It's a modification on the Fujihuan, evil sealing technique, but instead of relying on a person's will, Itachi changed it so that he could control it. Only problem was that it cost him his life. Jiraiya-sama, how will we get these 2 back to Konoha? We will already have to slow down for Lee, asked Sakura. I guess I'll call some Anbu and they'll take them back. We'll have to wait until they show up though, replied the frog hermit. After a couple of hours, a squadron of Anbu arrived and took the body of Uchiha Itachi and the comatose Uchiha Sasuke back to Konoha. The team assigned to return him arrived a little after sunset. Happy to have that mission over with, the team returned home and was happy to get some sleep for their troubles. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.